Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. We talk all the time about the digital media world. What's the best way to get a message out there? What is the best message to get out there? So you need professionals like Drago and his team at Oak City Tech. Go to oakcitytech.com. Tell them what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Each week on Triangle BNI, we bring you a local small business success story. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and the surrounding cities. And each week, 31 chapters, about 520, 525 members get together, and our goal is to help each other grow our businesses. And our local small business success story this week is Cole McGlothlin with Edward Jones. He is a financial advisor. He is in RDO2. They are Carry Connections. They meet every Monday at 8:30 in the morning at Hope Community Church on Buck Jones Road. We have royalty in the house because Cole is the president. Good morning, Cole. How are you again?
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Oh, glad to have you here. I was at Cole's meeting this morning. For those of you who aren't morning people, still a good group to go visit. I know some people, I don't know what gene, Cole, if you got an early riser or a night owl from your folks. I got the early riser gene from my mom, and it's paid dividends for me, so I enjoy the morning meetings.
Yep.
What'd you get from your folks, early morning or the night owl?
I actually got kind of a weird combination. I got both. Um, I got the night owl and the early bird. If I sleep more than 4 or 5 hours, I actually feel more tired. So,
Really?
yep.
Interesting. Do you grab a nap during the day?
Uh, Very rarely.
Okay.
Normally, it's bed between midnight and 1 and up by between 4 and 5.
Wow.
It's
Okay. Very impressive. All right. So Cole's been with Edward Jones for about 7.5 years. Cole, if I've got it right, in one of your elevator pitches, you said you want to do business with people you like. Did I get that correct?
that is correct. I'd much rather have fun and enjoy my time than just worry about managing people's assets. That's not the goal. It's the relationship.
Okay, so we're going to talk about, there's a number of things we're going to talk about, the million types of different sales jobs you have, which thoroughly intrigue me. But I hate to take Cole, but that statement goes against everything we're told on how to grow a business, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fun. I've always had the problem, if you want to call it. I'm not really a salesperson. I actually had a sales manager pull me aside one time and said I'd be a much better salesperson if I weren't so honest and didn't worry so much about telling everything to the prospective client. Um, I've never portrayed or pretended to be a good salesperson. It's more about customer service.
When did the I want to do business with people I like, did that kind of kick in one day and you realized, okay, this is the route I want to go?
Well, I always wanted it. It just, I didn't have the ability to pursue it most of the time. When I first started, uh, I moved to North Carolina about a year and a half before I started with Edward Jones, and I didn't know anyone. So I helped everybody I could, anyone that was willing. But over time, I got comfortable enough and confident enough to be able to just really just say, look, if we don't want to spend time, I don't want to talk to people that don't want to talk to me. And I don't want them to talk to me if they don't want to hear from me. So the relationship turned into being the first and the biggest priority.
And it's actually a very good lesson in client retention is to just find the people that and they're probably drawn to you because they want to talk to you as much as you want to talk to them.
Right. Spending time, a lot of times it's more birthday calls, anniversary
Mhm.
calls. Hey, how's the family doing? Rather than worrying about um, what's going on with assets because that's being managed on the side. And the relationship is the priority.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, so we're coming up on the end of the year, and I don't want to get into details of this, that, or the other, but just some thoughts of people. If we have money left over, did we want to start something? How do we wrap up the end of the year financially to make sure we're in good shape or starting the new year off the right way?
Well, this is a great year for an interesting philosophy at the end of the year, which is trying to make sure you can accumulate as much of a tax loss harvest. This is a CPA expert um, out there that would tell you more about what that means, but taking advantage of taxable holdings that might be down right now because of the market, if you can move them from one investment into another and get the returns that you're still expecting, but harvest the loss, it may not reduce your taxes this year. It may, but it could also be carried over and reduce your taxes the following year. It can be a good advantage at the end of this year. Um, it's a normal market, unfortunately, to have down markets, but to take advantage of them is the key. And that's a good strategy right now.
Ye-
The market's
Yeah,
down. It's also a good time to put money in
yeah.
that's long term. If you need your money in the next 6 months, you don't invest it right now, you save it.
I was
But if
lit.
you
Yeah.
if you have money that's 3 4 years, that's where you long term money.
I was listening to a webinar seminar. This was probably like a year and a half ago, and it was some national guy. I have no idea who he was, but he was on a national seminar, and he said your investment is like an ice cube. The more you touch it, the less of it there will be.
That's true. Yeah, there's some great analogies. Warren Buffett has some of my favorite ones, and if you think of the investment philosophy that he talked about, is the best time to buy is when be greedy when everyone's fearful and be fearful when
Mm,
everyone's greedy. And I can't think of a more fearful time right now.
mm,
But it's long-term money you need to be greedy with. Short-term money protected.
mm.
Um, that's definitely key.
Now, your industry in the real estate industry, it's been a goofy year, and you're probably going maybe on a couple years. Do you enjoy, from a strategic standpoint, do you enjoy a year like this versus, oh yeah, everything's just going up 9%, no matter what you do, it's going to go up 9%?
It's it can be stressful, but it can also be a point where you can really give your clients the benefit that you have for them. Um, a market that just goes up, 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 you can throw a dart against a wall and hit an investment. But these type of markets require strategy, defensive positions, cash rich position, investments that are solid to be able to weather storms. And just sticking with one thing can be a problem. So you need that management. That's where this value can be. I wouldn't lie and say that it's nice when the market's just going up, up, up. I had clients who looked at me and go, "Am I really paying you money because it's just going up so much? I don't know." I go, "Yeah, you are." And then the other way during this market, you have people their money has gone down and they're still paying. So it from a psychological standpoint, it's not the easiest, but it can be fulfilling to know you're protecting what you're doing.
One of the many things I've learned through BNI is with financial advisors, the ones who do it well, because our initial inclination is to think, "Oh my god, every one of your clients must be calling you every day going, 'What's going on? What's going on?'" But I was told early on by a really good, successful financial advisor is, "No, I don't get many calls. My clients know what we're doing and what the plan is."
Yeah, I have I have not gotten. I could probably count on one hand people that called up so panicked that they needed reassurance. Um, out of hundreds of clients. So, and the other thing is, I had clients call up going, "I need to get money invested right now,"
Mm,
because they saw the opportunity long term.
yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that, and we there's a bunch of there's a bunch of industry myths, and of course, one of yours is, well, we just put the money here, and you don't talk. A lot of people don't talk about the plan, and I know you do regularly when you do your elevator pitches. You want somebody coming to your office without receipts, without paperwork, without anything. It's like, let's just talk about what your goal is.
Definitely, the goal is the driving force of any plan. And if you don't have a goal, you don't know what the plan needs to be. And if you don't know the plan, you don't know how the money should be invested. I mean, and a human takes, you can just sit there and put information into a computer system and it's going to spit out something, but it doesn't know people. And that's where I really love the relationship. Um, it's it's kind of a dying art with some of the younger generations. They don't want the personal touch, but it is so important. It's your life savings. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't want a computer doing all that for me. That's just me.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. And that the analogy for me is mainly in baseball with the analytics. Like, I don't care who's at bat, I don't care who's pitching. The count is 2-1. It's the top of the seventh. We're down plus or minus. It's like, no, no, no. Who is the, and again, we'll get into your baseball background, but it's the same thing. It's like, no, no, I need to know who's involved here first.
Yeah, definitely. It's a much different situation depending on who's at bat and who's the pitcher is. So
I've always thought so. I'm with you on that. In doing some of my research, I see that you are, uh, wait, where's the note? Here it is. You have a CFFP designation, Series 66 and Series 7. Can I assume you're a good test taker?
I have learned how to do that. It depends on the test. If you're talking legalese, which was the Series 66, um, a little bit more difficult than the analytics side. That side is a much more fun to me, the analytics. But trying to discern the legal nuances, um, I've just learned over time that if you don't know something, you write a note that you need to come back to it, um, and try to get as much done. Because if you run out of time on a test, it's a horrible thing. And I learned that as a kid. Um, I had a I took the ACTs when I was in
Yep.
high school, and um, I scored in the 56th percentile in the language section because I got 30 out of 60 right, but I only finished 30 questions. So that was the problem that I learned early on, that I should have skipped ones I wasn't sure about
Yeah.
until later and come back, and then I could have answered more and gotten a better score. So
They didn't give you credit for batting 1,000 on the 30 that you did attempt?
nope. You should have seen me when I finished the math section. They had twice as many questions in half the time, but I finished in with half the time left over. And I said, "Can I start on the other one?" They're like, "No, you got to wait." I'm like, "Oh man, I could have used that extra time, but I
Oh,
didn't."
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I did the SAT and the ACT, and I did better on the did considerably better on the ACT because you could, if I remember right, you weren't penalized for wrong answers like you were on the SAT. So,
That's correct.
my
Yep.
ACT scores were considerably better. So, so again, the sales jobs you've had, by the way, real quick, um, each Edward Jones advisor has a branch office administrator, BOA, right?
Yep.
And yours is Betsy, who just is very highly spoken of in your uh, chapter meetings. How'd you two get together?
That is a very interesting story because the tech, the IT person for our region, I was looking at hiring a branch office administrator because I was about to open my branch. And he's like, "Hey, my wife is trying to get a job. She's in the system already." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And so I got her application and I sat down and talked to her. And the funny thing is, we both live in the same neighborhood across the street from my our branch, and she is incredibly detail oriented and empathetic and understand and all the things you need for someone who's there to help and understand while I'm in the background trying. I, I always say I'm the fancy hood ornament and she's behind the wheel driving the branch to make sure everything's done. Um,
It
Admin stuff is not my strong
yeah.
point. Um, and I love details, but I love analytics way more. She loves details, and that's valuable.
When you got started in Edward Jones and as you learned the path is, I guess, was to open your own branch, which is, I guess, should be the goal. Is there a window of number of clients that's good to have, or how many are manageable, or is that just you learn that as you go?
Well, there is a higher volume you can have when you have someone supporting you, like Betsy does. But I am also the abnormal rather than the norm. The average advisor with Edward Jones has about 300 or 400 clients. I have 120. And it is because I'm more relationship driven. I definitely want to spend more time with them rather than just on the accounts and be done and move on. It's just who I am. So I obsess about the clients more, and that takes too much time. And I realized over time we do have a system that gives us, well, how much time do you want to spend on each person, how
Yeah.
many and different questions. And they said that my ceiling was 165 clients. So I've never hit that as of yet. And I'm lucky. I do have to say, I knocked on 22,000 doors before I started working in BNI networking. Oh, thank goodness I don't have to spend so much time walking anymore. But it wasn't good for my waistline after I stopped.
It cold calling teaches you humility, but it's just not a lot of fun.
Time consuming, but the if you don't have the passion to help
Yep.
people, you'll never survive going to somebody's front door.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of perseverance and belief. I didn't think I had it before I got started here.
Well, and
But it,
also you're selling, like you said before, something very personal versus if you knock on the door, "Hey, I'm Cole's Landscaping, would love to cut your grass." That's more transactional, but man, you knock on somebody's door and say, "Hey, let me have your money," and and help you reach your goal. That's not exactly a yes, no answer on the front doorstep, is it?
it's an interesting one. I was lucky. Um, I worked really hard. What do they say? Luck comes from a lot of work.
Yep.
So it worked.
How
I don't want to do it again.
Yeah. How many doors you think you knocked on before you signed your first client?
Oh, it was about, well, interesting. Edward Jones has a philosophy that they want you to go out and meet people for a little over a month before you're allowed to ask one to be a client.
Oh,
So I had contacts of about 1,000 people and probably about 1,500 to 2,000 doors that I actually went and said hi to before um, I actually was able to ask somebody to be a client. And at that point, um, it was within a week
wow.
after I was allowed. So it was
Okay.
pretty quick.
Alright. Now, how long did it take you to knock on 22,000 doors?
1,100 hours, 20 doors per hour is the average all the
Wow.
time consistently. I mean, you'll knock on 20 doors, but you'll talk to three of them.
Okay.
And you'll maybe a maybe five, maybe you walk between doors half a minute, you wait in front of the door for a minute if nobody answers, and you talk to three or four people at 5 6 minutes, stuff like that.
Okay.
But I did the analysis, I have the stats. It was always 20 doors an hour. It was 1,100 hours.
Any creative responses from the homeowners you'd like to share with us that are appropriate?
Well, appropriate. My one of my favorites. Oh, I've already got an advisor. Everyone always used to
Yeah.
hit me with that one. Um, and my favorite one response to that, just to give you my response rather than theirs, in essence, was, well, most millionaires have two and a half advisors, and I'd love to be your half.
Ooh.
It usually got a giggle out of people.
Yep.
But I also complimented them and said they were a millionaire. So um, it worked sometimes. But I do have a story about one neighborhood. I knocked on five straight doors, and every single one of them was an electrical engineer. Five straight doors. All of them answered. All of them were working from home in tech jobs. And by the time I got to the fifth door and they answered, I'm like, hey, I'm Cole with Edward Jones. Are you an electrical engineer too?
Yep.
And they just started laughing, go, yeah, I am. I go, the last four doors were all electrical engineers too. It was kind of weird. Um,
And that's your
cool thing is
wheelhouse. Yeah.
I have three of them as clients.
I was gonna say that's your wheelhouse because you said you just wanna collect nerds, right?
Yeah, that it worked out perfectly.
Well, because they're very linear, so they get your thinking and your approach,
Yep,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
we think similarly.
nice. So previous jobs, and we'll get to the good one here in a minute, but I did not realize or probably hadn't heard yet the amount of time you spent in automobile sales with Porsche, Jaguars, and Land Rovers.
Yep.
Do you have a
The,
personal favorite of those 3?
I am still very close to heart with the Land Rover. The amazing capabilities of those vehicles, and also from being involved with sales and management for so long. I was with them from 1999 till 2008, from different cashier all the way up to managing stores, and they get a bad rap because they push the envelope of technology and what you can do in a luxury vehicle that can go off road. And they also get misunderstood. Uh, a lot of people don't understand in the US that the econ button actually turns off an air conditioning system in a car in a Land Rover. So they think the air conditioning is broken and complain when they just turned it off with the econ button. Um, it was something Brits understood it, but U.S. buyers did not. So
Now, so of those 3 vehicles, which is easier to sell?
Land Rover, incredibly, the statistics were two out of every three persons that walked onto a Land Rover lot had already decided to buy it.
Wow.
It was just whether or not they could afford it or whether or not they liked you.
Okay.
So, um,
And
and a
s
lot of times it was just that they couldn't afford it because it's a expensive vehicle.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And you were, an on-premise salesperson.
I started as cashier, became accounts payable receivable, become a sales, then went internet manager, desk manager, finance manager, um, general sales manager, and assistant GM all across. I did virtually everything other than work on the cars and
Well,
be a service manager.
and from what I understand from people who I've known been in the sales industry before is there are ongoing contests within the sales staff, either daily or weekly, probably hourly, right?
Yeah, you'd run into a lot of different things. Sometimes they'd have specific cars that give you bonuses and stuff like that.
Mm,
Um, I was never the top salesperson in any one month. You'd probably have me as number two or three if I were in sales. But you got to the end of the year and I was the number one
mm,
salesperson because I was always number two or three every single month.
yeah.
And some people would be gangbusters one month and then nothing the next. So I was just consistent.
Yeah, they probably had a vacation in April, so they knew that February needed to be their best month to pay for the vacation, right?
Yeah. And there was also the fact that I had to, my wife hated it because I had a change of clothes in my car at all times. So if it was a day off and I got a call, I switched into my Land Rover gear and went straight to work.
Oh,
on days off. I mean, I didn't know the phrase no
yeah,
to anyone.
yeah.
Um, it was just the way it was for me.
All right. Speaking of your wife, one of the questions I enjoy asking married guests is, how did you and your wife meet? And do you both tell the story the same way?
Well, it's a little, I don't know how well she remembers it anymore, but there was a joke that happened. So she was new to California. I was working as a salesperson at Land Rover at the time, and she didn't know anybody. Her dad was trying to cheer her up, so they were going to go to a miniature golf course to play and just hang out in the evening, Sunday night. She loves hiking, so she went to go out. They saw the Land Rover store and they pulled in and thought we were closed. I started chatting with her. As a salesperson, I'm supposed to ask questions to get to know somebody. So I asked her if she had any kids, and her response was that she lives next to a nuclear plant. So I responded immediately, going, "Hey, that's how I stay single." Um, well, 10 days later, she came back to see if I was single, and the rest is history.
And how do
So
you think she recalls that?
she actually, I think she'll recall that. She just won't remember all the details um, of our
Yeah.
conversations and the fact that it happened on July 14th of 2001. She will have
Gotcha.
no clue the date. None of that stuff. I'm the dates person. We got married
Yeah.
on a holiday, so she'd remember it.
Oh, God. I hope it's not a holiday that keeps moving on a Monday, right?
No, the good thing is it's St. Patrick's Day. It's nice and easy, so you get to
Okay.
celebrate.
Now, was that her recommendation or yours?
Well, I got some Irish blood in me, so we came to that. It was a joint decision on that one because we wanted springtime.
Yeah.
So,
So she, yeah, in California, springtime's February, right?
right,
Okay.
every it's all spring or summer.
There you
There is
go.
no winter there.
All right. So she comes back a week later after you. So you guys first meet. She comes back a week later. Make sure you're single. When and where is the first date?
That was 5 days after her second visit. We went out to Olive Garden.
There you go. Big
Yeah,
spender.
fancy.
Yep. All you can eat bread basket too, right?
Yep,
Yep.
yep. And I have a tendency of being an over disclosure person. So uh, I was 30 years old. I didn't care anymore. So I told her everything,
Good.
everything. I felt like, if she could live through everything that I've gone through, and she can't come back and say she didn't know something later on. She said, she told me she was scared after that first date, but she stuck around. So
Yeah.
hey, it worked.
Well, and it's one of those things, if you're gonna date for a while, she's gonna find out most of it. She may as well just tell her up front. So,
Yep.
no, I'm with you on that. And you 2 have a daughter. You were telling me the other night when I was at your office, tree trimming party, which, by the way, had a lot of fun,
Thanks.
that your daughter is on the robotics team.
Yep.
That's gotta make your heart swell with pride because that's the way
She
you
is a
are.
nerd. She's an engineer at heart. I love it to death. The room I'm sitting in right now is set up to um, the computers are off to the side because I'm on an iPad right now, but we've got computers that we can go online and game together and record and put it on YouTube if we want. She is a geek at heart, and I love it. 12-year-old nerd. It's beautiful, and all of her friends are the smart kids. It's nice.
Oh, okay. All right. Is your wife that way, or she's got to be creative? If you're numbers, she's got to be creative, right?
She is. She's creative. She is a nerd also and a geek, but hers is based around Jeopardy.
Ooh,
Mine's around mathematics and engineering.
yep.
She grew up reading the encyclopedia for fun. Ugh, that scares me.
And yet you went on a second date after you found that out.
Yeah, I survived too. Yep.
All right, I want to get to the sales story that just has me laughing so much. You told this last week at your BNI meeting, um, that you actually It took you a while to figure out what you wanted to do. In the meantime, you've always been a go-getter, making money, selling stuff. You're, no stranger to working hard. I learned that from you. But you actually sold perfume in parking lots.
That was, yeah, that, there's a theory in where I am right now. One of the coaches said, think of your worst job ever and think you'll have to go back to that if you fail at this. And definitely selling perfume in parking lot where you have to run up to somebody in hopes that they don't ignore you and
Mhm.
just say, can I ask you a crazy question? What perfume do you wear? And hope they don't
Yeah.
hit you,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and just try to get the chance to let them know, hey, I've got what you wear, white diamonds, whatever, cool water. I mean, oh man, I used to know all the different perfumes and colognes, but
Jeez.
oh, it was a brutal but enlightening job that taught you and taught me that we're all trying to help and do something. I mean, you don't know who that person is that's talking to you,
Mm.
um, and you got to give them the benefit of the doubt sometimes.
Yeah, and in today's world, that's not gonna play with a guy walking up to a lady in a parking lot. "Hey, what perfume do you
No,
have?"
that job is gone. It does not exist anymore. If it did, I don't know where, or it's going to get ugly, in my opinion, on that one.
And do I remember right, you made about $8 a bottle?
Yeah, it was $8 a bottle. We sold them for $20. 12 went to them, and eight eight to me. So it was sell or go hungry.
I hope you, cashed out each and every day 'cause, was that a reputable company that's still around?
I don't know if it's still around. I haven't looked in a long time. Um, it, I think it was called Fragrance de Elegance or something like that.
Yeah, naturally.
Um,
Yep.
it's probably out there. I think what they did is they started going towards selling in those gigantic stores that are in the mall that had all the knockoff perfumes and colognes and stuff like that
That and
because they
probably
couldn't get
yeah,
people. I
yep. That and probably kiosks, right? I could see them doing that.
Right.
So there
Yep.
were actually, and what year was this?
That was in 1994.
And there were actually women that stopped and talked to you about that.
Yep.
Man,
Women, men, it's stunning how many people would talk to you.
wow. Could
Um,
you pick what parking lot you wanted to go to, of what store?
oh yeah, you'd go wherever. You just had to be careful with, I mean, because some people would call the cops, and you
Oh,
just had to
yeah.
make sure we were mobile.
Hey, oh, oh, I'm sensing you said, "Here, come here, let me open my trunk
Oh,
for you."
oh yeah, because you'd have a big gigantic bag with stuff with like
Yes.
20 or 30 or 40 different colognes and perfumes because you didn't know what they were going to answer. It was not fun. It's definitely not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
And how long did you do that?
It was probably about 3, 4, maybe 5 months. It was less than half a year.
And
It was a very short term.
h how many people stopped and started from the time you started and stopped, you figured?
Oh, well, part of it was a revolving door
Mm.
of probably about 20 to 30 a week would come in, realize what they're doing, and get out.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and you'd have 5 or 6 people that would stick it out for more than 3, 4, 5 weeks. And next thing you know, those, like myself, were the trainers of the new people
Mhm.
because we were the only ones that had any experience.
Yeah. Oh, geez. What was the
Yeah.
what was the sales job before that, and what was the sales job after that?
Before I was, I had 2 jobs at the same time before that while I was still in school. And that was the construction manager for the School of Theater. And I was also a salesperson at a independent record store.
Ooh,
Um,
okay. I bet that was pretty fun,
and
wasn't it?
yep. And then after that, um, I had a job as a IT manager and a database manager for a telemarketing company.
Oh, geez. Alright. Were you making outbound
Couldn't cut
calls,
it
or
as
you just
I couldn't cut it as a salesperson.
yeah.
I think they tried me in that one day, and I was like, no, that ain't happening.
I
The
s yeah.
telemarketing is a different monster.
Oh, yeah. No, thanks on that. So your ties
Yep.
are obviously to Southern California. You are a proud graduate of the University of Southern Cal.
Yep.
I find it odd that you majored in theater and aerospace engineering.
Well, I have two jokes. The first one is I was lazy when looking up the majors, and because I dual majored to start at aerospace engineering and applied mathematics.
Yeah.
And then when I decided I was bored with it and wanted to get out, um, I only made it to actor before I had got sick of looking through the book. But no, a friend of mine knew how outgoing I was in very, very small groups of like 1 to 2 people.
Mhm.
He's like, take an acting class just to see what it's like. And it was the most enlightening thing I'd ever. I would tell anyone that does any marketing or sales, take an acting
Mm.
class, because if you have to act like somebody else, you have to know how to look at the world from their point of view. And that is exactly what sales and marketing is. It was the most enlightening thing. I didn't know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And that's what acting taught me to do. So that was groundbreaking to be able. It was the most difficult thing I ever did because I was afraid to talk to people. But it was amazing. And now my wife calls me a ham because I'm
Yep.
too outgoing sometimes.
Well, and that's interesting on the acting part. I hadn't thought about that because, for years, I've always thought any school, it should be mandatory for each student to take a public speaking class. But the acting thing takes it one step further, so I kinda follow you
Yeah,
on that.
you have to not only have to know who you are as a person, but you have to be able
Mhm.
to look at the world from somebody else's point of view. And as someone in customer
Mhm.
service, marketing, sales, anything like that, your goal is to find a solution for someone,
Yeah.
their needs. And if you can't see the world from their point of view, you have no hope.
Then on your, degree, what do you have a degree in what?
I have no degree. I have 3 years worth of education toward three different majors.
Oh, I thought
Um,
you
I'm a
finished, my bad.
I am a graduate only in the fact that I have so many units. They've called me a graduate. Um, you only need like 180 units to graduate, and I had 270 um, because I was taking way too many classes to begin with the dual major, and then I crammed
Mm.
the entire education needed for the theater degree into 2 years. So if in 5 years I have 9 years worth of college, if I want a theater degree, I need 3 semesters of a foreign language and then one general ed class. I just can't bring myself to
Yeah,
go back to college and sit in
yeah.
a room as a 50 something year old guy.
And
It's
yeah,
not that important to me.
I'm with
Uh, uh,
you. And in the it felt like 9 years that you were there, but it was really only 5. How many jobs did you have putting yourself through school? Which, by the way, folks, if you don't know, University of Southern Cal is a private school. It is not cheap.
it's very expensive. And in the day and age back then, I had $75,000 worth of student loans, but I still had um, about $12,000 a year worth of financial grants that I still had. And then I had 2 jobs. Um, Most of the time was with the record store and the
Mhm.
theater department. Previous to that, I had maintenance jobs with aerospace companies and delivering mattresses during the summer, helping my dad. He had a furniture store. I was selling furniture for my dad at his shop. Um, Working at golf courses whenever I could during
Yep.
evenings, and it's just you end up working 80 hours a week and going to school another 40 or 50. You don't even notice the years go by sometimes.
And that
You just work.
that explains the 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. That does that helps the math actually, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely.
You, always prided yourself on your, ability as a golfer, and on your bio, one of the bios I was reading says you actually had 3 eagles in 1 round.
Yeah, it was so close to 4. I lipped out on the 18th hole for the 4th eagle. That would have been a blast to say. I mean, 3 is pretty crazy, but yeah, I went out one day, and to give you the craziness of the story is, at the time I was working as an assistant at a golf course, and I was in the pro shop, and the pro showed up. He said, "Hey, why don't you go play with the members?" And so I went to the first tee and didn't hit a single ball. I almost topped the first tee shot, um, and then proceeded to eagle the first par five, by lipping out my second shot. I shot 2 under on the front. Then I holed out from 50 yards from a fairway bunker on a par four, and then holed out from 100 yards on a par five, and then hit the 18th hole in two and lipped out the birdie. I lipped out the eagle. So yeah, I almost had 4 eagles and shot a 66. So
And some of
all the
the
members
yeah,
called me Eagle Boy from
yeah.
that point on.
Well, I'm sure some of the members trying to grab you for, some skins games with their buddies so they could take money out of their pocket, right?
Yeah, at the time I was a +3 handicap, so
Oh,
it was a little bit different world.
yeah. And to if people don't believe the nerd and the geek and the gamer that you are through all your stories, let me just tell everybody, in his office, there is a working video game called Tron. If you are familiar with that game, and I learned, the other night that this Tron game has made it across the United States with you, hasn't it?
It started its life in Disneyland, went to a machine shop in Orange where I bought it. Yeah, I played it as a kid, and found it, and it's been transported everywhere I went since 1994. I got it right after I graduated from college, and it's a prized possession, to say the least.
And, my guess is the agreement with your wife was, "You can keep it, but not at the house."
It was at the house for a long time, and she was really excited when I got my office, and I think I'm going to take the truck. Really, you're going to get it? Oh yeah, Dad. Fine, take it. That was great because it was just taking up space at home that she'd rather have for other stuff. So
Now, can Betsy tell when you're playing Tron?
I can turn the volume down so
But
she won't know. But definitely, I do not play it that much, unfortunately. Um, it's been played once in the last year.
wow.
Yeah,
Alright.
and that was just within the last week, because one of my guests said, "I want to play," and they had no clue how to play,
Yeah.
so I had to show them how to play.
It's a fun game. I remember I told you I remember playing that in college, so that was my
Yep.
game of choice when my friends and I went to play video games. Real quick, you have a connection to the Pittsburgh Pirates back in the We Are Family in the '70s for baseball fans. Your uncle Jim Rooker, right?
Yes. Yep.
Pitched on that
Played
team.
from he played from 74 to 80 with the Pirates. Before
Man.
that, he was part of the Royals organization, and then started in the Detroit Tigers organization. So fondness for each one of those teams
Mhm.
because family ties from that standpoint. But my uncle was definitely it's Pittsburgh,
Yep.
because after he stopped playing, he ended up being on the radio crew and TV crew all the way through the 80s and part of the 90s. So definitely grew up with that as my team.
Yeah,
So I
and
hated the Dodgers because they kept beating the Pirates in the
yep.
80s and 90s.
Yep, and I just remember growing up, it was Pittsburgh, it was the Big Red Machine in Cincinnati. The
Yep.
Dodgers had their runs, the A's had their runs. It's again, in the get off my lawn segment of the show, talk about the teams in the '70s. So, but you have some cool memorabilia in the office. It sounds like some just wonderful memories of that time, being around that team with your uncle.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with my wife one day because she was talking about going and watching a Durham Bulls game, and I just had to pause because I realized I've never paid to go to a baseball game in my life. And I've been to thousands of them,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
but I didn't realize it until she brought that up, and it was just a show up at will call. And when I went, when he was with the team, he'd take me to the dugout in the clubhouse and just hang out with the team the whole time. I didn't even know you were supposed to go through ticket booths and sit in a assigned seat. I was just with the team and the families. So it was really weird upbringing from that standpoint.
And you thought everybody had an uncle that pitched for a pro baseball
Oh
team,
yeah.
right?
I also thought it was weird when people would come up and ask for his autograph.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just my uncle.
Yeah.
What do you need that for?
No, I loved watching those teams. Roberto Clemente was one of the first play athletes that I just had a sports crush on, that I just wanted to watch him, and it was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed those teams. All right, Cole, so what's one thing, as we wrap up here, what's one thing people need to do before the end of the year when looking at, is everything in order with my finances?
I think they need to make sure that if they have holdings that are taxable, make sure that they take advantage of the market so that they don't pay taxes on things that drop this year, because dividends and stuff like that, that to me, save money, take it out of the government's pockets if possible. That, without hesitation, that's the number one thing I'm talking to people about.
Very nice. And that's yet another reason we hope that they call you. We've been putting your phone number up on the screen here, but just have an advisor that knows what they're doing. And, and other, some people use family members, and that's fine, but that's why you need a good advisor. Again, your whole thing is the long play and to reach your goal of whatever your goal is.
Yep. And you're never going to win with every single investment.
Yep.
So prior to my connection with Edward Jones, my wife was a day trader.
Wow.
And she bought a car with the trades she made back in 2008, 2009. But she also invested in a little company by the name of MCI WorldCom, which didn't do so good from an investment standpoint. So there's always positives and negatives. I mean, so you just have to look at the long picture is what I talk to people more than anything about, rather than what's going to happen next week.
I can see you in the kitchen with your wife, and she's telling you she had a bad day, and you pause. You're being the supportive husband. You say, well, honey, at least it's not MCI WorldCom.
Absolutely. Yep.
Anyways, Cole, thoroughly enjoyed having you on the show, telling some stories. Folks, just find an advisor that's going to help you reach your goal. But your first goal is to establish your goal. And then put everything else in order.
Relationship.
Yep. So please do that. All right, Cole, enjoyed it very much. Good luck with the end of the year, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that good stuff. And we will see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.